So we got some warm-ups. We'll just do one or maybe two. If you had an option to bring back any deceased scientist and go have a beer with that person, who would it be?
Darwin.
Of course,
which is a bit predictable, but for the very good reason that he really loved bumblebees. He discovered loads of things about bumblebees for the first time. Including one of his more famous things was he studied the way male bumblebees do this weird kind of patrolling to attract mates. They mark out as kind of route, and then a whole gang of them race round and round and round it in circles all day long. And he got his kids to sort of stand at different points on the route and shout when they saw the bee going past. They sprinkled flour. They used little sugar shakers and sprinkled flour onto the bees so they looked like kind of ghost bees, so they were easier to see, and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Okay, so my nerd answer for the which scientist would I bring back, it would have to be Darwin, right? I mean, maybe it's just because I finished writing this article that talks, a lot about his sort of work on the origin of humans, and I'm just thinking about him a lot. But I just think that he would be so thrilled to see everything that's been discovered about the origin of humans.
When I think about who historically might be a good person to fit that, I mean, Darwin, and sort of like I love some of his quotes of the history of life being more coral-like than tree-like. Because it's all there, it's a real history, but it's in shells and deposits, and not an actively growing tree at a time scale that we can actually see. So I would love to sit and talk with Darwin, as simple as that sounds, about what was wrapping through his head as he started to envision evolution in a tree-like form, and contrasting that with corals and trees as the appropriate metaphor.
Probably Darwin, I guess. Yeah.
There you go.
I haven't studied all of his stuff, but I've read some of it, and I have some questions.
I have some questions.
I think it would have to be Darwin. I mean, I think a lot about Darwin, and I've read a lot of books, a lot of biographies of Darwin, and spent a lot of time explaining things to my students that important thoughts that he had, and his knowledge and his curiosity were so huge that I just think it would be fascinating to have a conversation with him.